Jide Olarenweji sat at the head of the dining table, his eyes fixed on the newspaper in front of him. The headline was bold: "Economy on the rise, but families still struggle." He sighed, glancing up at his wife Amaka, who was busy feeding their youngest child Emeka. "Amaka, did you hear back from the agency?" Jide asked, his voice calm but tinged with concern. Amaka looked up, a smile on her lips. "Yes, Jide, they have found someone. Her name is Kemi. She comes highly recommended." Jide nodded, his gaze shifting to their eldest child, Dara, who was drawing quietly at the other end of the table. "Good. We need the help, especially with the way work has been lately." Amaka smiled, but she quickly regained her composure. "She will be arriving tomorrow. I am sure she will be a great addition to the family." Jide reached out and squeezed her hand. "Everything will be fine, Amaka. We are doing the right thing." The next day, the Olarenweji household buzzed with activity. Dara and Emeka played in the living room, while Amaka prepared lunch in the kitchen. Jide was on a business call in his study when the doorbell rang. Amaka hurried to the door, wiping her hands on a towel. She opened it to find a young woman standing on the porch. Kemi was slight, with short cropped hair and a shy smile. "Good afternoon, ma," Kemi greeted, her voice soft. "Good afternoon, Kemi. Please come in." Amaka stepped aside, allowing Kemi to enter the house. As Kemi walked in, she looked around the house, her eyes lingering on the family photos that lined the walls. Her gaze was intense and almost as if she were absorbing every detail. Amaka noticed and cleared her throat. "I will show you to your room, and then we can go over your duties." Kemi nodded, following Amaka up the stairs. As they walked down the hallway, Kemi's eyes flickered towards Dara's room. She paused for a moment before continuing on. In the kitchen, Emeka suddenly stopped playing and looked towards the stairs. His little face scrunched up in confusion as he mumbled, "Mommy, who is that?" The first night with Kemi in the house was uneventful, but Amaka couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She dismissed it as nerves, believing it was the stress of having a new person in the house. However, the next few days, strange things began to happen. Emeka, usually a sound sleeper, started waking up in the middle of the night, screaming in terror. When Amaka and Jide would rush to his side, he would be drenched in sweat, unable to explain what had scared him. "Mommy, the lady," Emeka whispered one night, clinging to Amaka. "What lady, Emeka?" Amaka asked, trying to soothe him. "The one who whispers to me when it is dark," he replied, his small voice trembling. Amaka's heart raced as she held him close. She didn't understand what was happening, but a deep unease settled over her. Kemi, on the other hand, seemed unconcerned. She continued with her duties, always polite and quiet, never giving any reason for suspicion. But Amaka couldn't ignore the growing tension in the house, the feeling that something unseen was lurking in the shadows. One evening, as Amaka passed by Kemi's room, she heard her speaking in a hushed tone. Curiosity got the better of her, and she pressed her ears against the walls. The language Kemi spoke was unfamiliar. The words were harsh. Amaka's breath hitched. Who was she talking to? Before she could decide whether to confront Kemi, the door opened and Kemi stepped out, her face expressionless. "Is everything alright, ma?" Kemi asked, her tone neutral. Amaka forced a smile. "Yes, everything is fine." Kemi nodded, then walked past her, disappearing down the hallway. Amaka stood there, heart pounding, wondering what she had just heard. Weeks passed, and the unsettling occurrences in Olaraweji's household continued. Dara, who was once a vibrant and energetic girl, began to change. She became withdrawn, spending more time alone in her room, often refusing to eat. She complained of headaches and chills, symptoms that baffled her parents. Amaka took her to the family doctor, but everything came back normal. The doctor assured them that it was likely stress or passing illness, but Amaka wasn't convinced. "Jide, something is wrong with Dara," Amaka said one evening, after Dara had gone to bed. "She is not herself." Jide looked up from the report he was reading. "Amaka, the doctor said that she's fine. Kids go through phases. Maybe she's just adjusting to having Kemi around." Amaka shook her head. "It is more than that. She's been having nightmares, and she barely talks anymore. I feel something. Something is draining her." Jide sighed, rubbing his temples. "What do you want me to do? We have seen the doctor. Maybe we should get a therapist involved if you think it is psychological." Amaka bit her lips, torn between her growing fear and the need to remain rational. "Maybe, but I think we should also consider other options." Jide frowned. "What do you mean?" Amaka hesitated, then spoke in a low tone. "There are things in this world we don't understand, Jide. You should be open to the possibility that something unnatural is happening." Jide's frown deepened, and he shook his head. "Amaka, I don't want to start thinking like that. We are an educated family. We need to deal with this logically." Amaka nodded, but a shadow of doubt remained in her heart. She couldn't shake the feeling that something evil had entered her home. Later that night, Amaka was awakened by a low rhythmic sound. She sat up in bed, listening intently. The sound was coming from Dara's room. It was a soft, persistent tapping, like something was scratching against the wood. She nudged Jide awake. "Do you hear that?" Jide groaned, half asleep. "It's probably just the house settling. Go back to sleep." But Amaka couldn't ignore it. She slipped out of the bed and walked quietly down the hall to Dara's room. As she approached, the sound grew louder. It was no longer just a tap, but a scraping, like nails on the wood. Her heart pounded as she reached for the door handle. She paused, fear gripping her, but she forced herself to turn the knob. The door opened, and Amaka's breath caught in her throat. Dara was lying in bed, her eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Her fingers were twitching, and her mouth moved as if she was whispering something. Amaka rushed to her side. "Dara! Dara! Can you hear me?" Dara didn't respond. Her eyes were glazed, her expression blank. Amaka shook her gently, panic rising within her. Suddenly, Dara's hands shot out, grabbing Amaka's wrist with an unnatural strength. She turned her head slowly to face her mother, and in a voice that wasn't her own, she whispered, "She is coming." Amaka stumbled back, her heart racing. "Dara, what are you talking about? Who is coming?" But Dara's eyes closed, and she fell into a deep sleep, as if nothing had happened. Amaka stood there, trembling, Unsure of what to do, she couldn't shake the feeling that something dark and sinister was looming over her family. The next day, Amaka's unease grew stronger. She decided to take matters into her own hands and investigate further. While Kemi was away, Amaka took the opportunity to search Kemi's room. She felt a pang of guilt as she searched through her belongings, but her fear for her children overweighed her conscience. She found little at first, just clothes and a few personal items. But then, tucked away at the bottom of Kemi's bag, she found something that made her blood run cold. It was a small leather-bound book, worn and aged, with strange symbols drawn into the cover. Amaka opened it, her hands shaking. The pages were filled with drawings and writings in a language she couldn't understand. The drawings depicted dark rituals, strange figures, and what looked like demonic entities. Her heart raced as she flipped through the pages. One drawing caught her attention. A figure resembling Kemi standing over a child's bed with dark shadows around her. Kemi's breath quickened. She slammed the door shut. She slammed the book shut and shoved it back into the bag. Her mind reeling. She needed to confront Kemi, but she knew she had to be careful. Whatever was happening, Kemi was at the center of it. As she left Kemi's room, she held the door open. Kemi had returned from the market, carrying bags of groceries. Amaka forced a smile as she greeted her, but inside, she was trembling. "Kemi, I hope everything went well at the market," Amaka said, her voice strained. Kemi smiled back, her eyes unreadable. "Yes, ma, everything was fine." As Kemi turned to put the groceries away, Amaka noticed something strange. Kemi's shadow on the wall seemed to move independently, twisting and contorting in ways that didn't match her movements. Amaka blinked, thinking it was a trick of the light. But the shadows persisted, shifting unnaturally. She felt a cold shiver run down her spine. Deciding to keep her discovery to herself for the time being, Amaka retreated to her room, her mind racing. She knew she had to find help, but she wasn't sure where to run. That night, as she lay in bed, she whispered a silent prayer, hoping for protection against whatever dark force had entered her home. The next day, Amaka couldn't shake the feeling of dread that hung over her. She decided to visit an old friend, Mama Ngozi, who lived in the outskirts of the town. Mama Ngozi was known for her wisdom and knowledge of the spiritual world, and Amaka hoped she could shed some light on the situation. As Amaka explained everything that had been happening, Mama Ngozi listened intently, her face growing more serious with each passing moment. "Mama, I am scared for my family," Amaka said, her voice trembling. "I found something in Kemi's room, a book with strange writings and drawings, and there is something wrong with Dara. I don't know what to do." Mama Ngozi nodded slowly, her eyes narrowing in thought. "It is as I feared. The girl you brought into your home, she's not what she seems. There is a darkness within her, a spirit that seeks to destroy." Amaka's heart sank. "What can we do? How do we stop it?" Mama Ngozi reached out and took Amaka's hands, her grip firm and reassuring. "You must be strong, my child. The spirit that possesses Kemi is powerful, but it's not invincible. There are rituals that can drive it away, but you must act quickly before it takes full control. Amaka nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. Please, Mama, tell me what to do. Mama Ngozi handed Amaka a small pouch filled with herbs and a vial of oil. Use these to protect your home. Sprinkle the herbs around your house and anoint the doorways and windows with the oil. But you must confront Kemi as well. The spirits will try to resist, but you must not back down. Amaka took the items, her resolve hardening. I will do whatever it takes to save my family. Mama Ngozi nodded. Be careful, Amaka. The spirits will fight back, and it may not be alone. You must prepare yourself for a battle unlike any you have faced before. Amaka left Mama Ngozi's house with a heavy heart, knowing that the battle ahead would be difficult. But she also felt a renewed sense of purpose. She will not let this evil destroy her family. Amaka returned home that evening, the sun setting behind her. She took a deep breath and steeled herself for what she needed to do. She found Jide in the living room, reading a book. Jide, we need to talk, she said, her voice firm. Jide looked up, sensing the seriousness in her tone. What's wrong, Amaka? Amaka sat down beside him, her hands clutching the pouch and vial. I went to see Mama Ngozi today. She confirmed what I've been feeling. Kemi is not just an ordinary girl. She is possessed by a spirit, and it's affecting our family. Jide's face darkened. Amaka, I thought we agreed not to go down this path. You know I don't believe in these things. Amaka shook her head, her voice steady. Jide, I didn't want to believe it either, but I've seen too much. Dara's sudden illness, the strange happenings, and Kemi's behavior. It's all connected. I found something in Kemi's room, a book filled with dark rituals. This is real, Jide, and we can't ignore it any longer. Jide's expression softened as he saw the fear in his wife's eyes. He placed a hand on her shoulder. Amaka, I want to protect our family as much as you do, but we need to be careful. What if we are wrong? What if this only makes things worse? Amaka leaned closer, her voice a whisper. Jide, we can't wait any longer. We have to confront Kemi tonight before something even worse happens. I got this from Mama Ngozi. She showed him the pouch of herbs and the vial of oil. She said this will protect us, but we have to act quickly. Jide insisted, then nodded, a determined look in his eyes. Alright, let's do this. For our family. The two of them prepared silently, Amaka sprinkling the herbs around the house and anointing the doors and windows with the oil. Each movement was deliberate, every action a prayer for protection. As they walked, the air in the house seemed to grow heavier, as if the very walls were holding their breath. When they were finished, they found Kemi in the kitchen, quietly washing the dishes. She looked up as they entered, her face expressionless, but there was something in her eyes, something dark and unreadable. Ma, sir, is everything alright? Kemi asked, her voice calm. Amaka took a deep breath. Kemi, we need to talk. Kemi dried her hands on a towel, her gaze never leaving Amaka's face. Yes, ma. What is it? Jide stepped forward, his voice firm but gentle. Kemi, we've noticed some strange things happening since you arrived. We are concerned. not just for ourselves, but for you as well. Kemi's eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of something dangerous passing over her features. I don't know what you're talking about, sir. I've been doing my job, just as you asked. Amaka stepped closer, her hands clutching the vial in her pocket. Kemi, we know about the book. We know about the spirit that is possessing you. Kemi's calm facade cracked for a split second, her expression turning cold. She took a step back, her eyes darting between Jide and Amaka. You shouldn't have done that, ma. You shouldn't have gone into my room. Jide felt a chill run down his spine as he felt the change in Kemi's appearance. Kemi, we don't want to hurt you. We just want to help. Kemi's lips twisted into a bitter smile. Help? You can't help me. No one can. It is too late for that.